Hi there, it's December the 17th, and we're continuing our journey through John's Revelation, the revelation of Jesus Christ. We're in chapter 8, and we're reading the whole chapter from verses 1 to 13. So we've had the 6 seals on the scroll that have been opened, and now the 7th seal is open. The 7th seal speaks of completion. Remember, this number 7 is the number of completion, fullness. So this is the last of the seals. This is heralding the end of the story. And as the seal is open, it says there's silence in heaven for half an hour. And silence is something that is quite strange in heaven in one sense. So there's this waiting, there's this anticipation, what's going to happen now? And in this space, there's this just tension that's going on. But one thing that's interesting is before the next thing happens, which is the sounding of 7 trumpets, which bring catastrophes on the earth. Before the sounding of those 7 trumpets, there is prayer happening. And this is the people of God who are crying out to God on the altar in front of the throne, and incense is presented. Incense is always the picture of the prayers of God's people, and this is coming up as an intercession before God. Something was quite key in this, that as well as all these terrible things that are happening, there is still prayer going up to God. Prayer doesn't cease. This isn't people saying, oh, this is it, the end of the earth. There's actually still prayer going on that God will intervene. And so the first 4 trumpets are sounded, and these 4 trumpets bring various catastrophes on the earth. And so there is the falling of hail and fire. Something elemental is happening, bringing fire on the earth that brings a huge destructive force across the earth. A mountain falls into the sea, kind of like a volcano going into the sea, and this causes the sea to turn to blood, boiling up. There's asteroids coming down. There's things falling down from the sky that causes all the greenness to go from the earth. And then there's things happening in the heavenly bodies, in the sun, in the moon and the stars. There's a darkening of these things. And then the last thing that happens in this chapter is there's an eagle flying through the air, crying, woe, woe to all those who live on earth, before the last 3 trumpets are sounded. It's a sign of terrifying power that's coming, and in a sense John is perhaps grappling with the things he's seeing, trying to describe them. It's very powerful, given that in the earth, those of us who live on the earth, we're often seeing things that happen. We see things that make our hearts melt with fear, even now, with all of the talk that is going on and all of the worry and the concern about climate change, about bushfires, about things that are happening across the earth, about the issues that men are facing for themselves. We can still know that prayer can go on. So at the beginning of this chapter there is prayer, and we're called to pray. We're called to continually bring that incense before the face of God and to intercede for the earth. But we're also aware that there is this destructive power that has been unleashed, and we are living in it, whether that's the power of nuclear warfare, whether it's the power of what we're doing to the environment and the climate. But God is still ruling, and that's why prayer is so key, and that's why these 2 things sit so closely within this chapter, prayer as well as the destructive power that's happening. Let's continue to pray. Let's continue to intercede, to bring that incense before God's face, that we could see a change around. We could see the renewal of the earth, the new heavens and the new earth that God has promised to us. Have a very good December 17th.